Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another podcast episode of Insights by Outside Season 2. Now, I have one of the first entrepreneurs to have come on this podcast, and I'm very excited about him, Mr. Jignesh Talasila. Now, I'll be delving into how he came to create PerspectAI, but I want to give you a brief about him so that we can directly delve into the conversation right now. So, primarily, Mr. Jignesh has been an alumnus of the Geetam University. He was an advisor to the registrar as well there. And he's one of the people that has actually gotten into Jagriti Yatra, which I wanted to get into as well, because I was a Harvard project for Asian International Delegates, Relations delegate. And I got an invite for Jagriti Yatra. And I wanted to go there for a very long time. I wanted to delve into your experience with that. Apart from that, he's also the co-founder of bonfireVR, which is one thing that I wanted to really delve into more after the announcement of Apple Vision Pro and the Oculus headsets, and Meta starting its own Llama AI as well. So post that, one of the major details that I want to highlight that actually PerspectAI has been awarded the national comeback champion by T-Hub, national finalist with the Builder Capital, and the best HR tech startup for 2021 and 2022. So getting that out of the way with a lot of portions coming in, including pitching to investors, building your own community, as well as delving into new age topics, including VR and AI, we have with us today Mr. Jignesh Talasila. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to delve directly into the podcast institution of getting into PerspectAI. So, sir, could you walk us through the ideation process of how PerspectAI came into being and how the navigation came into being from ideation to prototyping to pitching to investors?
The initial idea of our company was not PerspectAI.
Right.
It was actually to go into K-12 education space to help students learn while they practice things hands-on. So, but for that, unfortunately, it needed a lot of capital to build it, a lot of graphics at the scale of Bahubali movie or anything else. So that's when we decided that we should do something which can be made low cost and be scalable.
Right.
So finally we stumbled upon this concept, especially through this interesting quote by Plato, almost thousands of years ago. You can discover more about a person in an hour of play than in an year of conversation. So that really intrigued us. We asked ourselves, can we understand people better using games? I never fared well in any exam that I ever took in my life, including IITs and IIEEs and etc., JEEs and etc. So I said, I'm not a fool, I'm not stupid enough, but I'm still not good on that exam. There should be something wrong with the exam, not me. So why not create a different way of assessing people? And that's how we ended up creating the concept with the inspiration of this quote of game-based tests. So initially we started with virtual reality because back in the day our specialty lies in VR. We started doing already certain POCs of that, and we were already looked at as pioneers in the space. But then it actually went well for us when we started VR-based talent assessments. We used to have customers like Accenture, Maruti Suzuki, PwC, a bunch of good Schneider Electric and etc. But then, and we were accelerated by Facebook. The information that you haven't got was we were accelerated by Facebook India Innovation Hub. They took us to the US for almost a month, gave us in-house training, and then took us to a F8 conference where we were sitting right in front of Mark Zuckerberg when he was pitching the new Quest. So a lot of good things happened in that. But when things go well, there is nature's way of making it all wrong. That's when COVID happened. So what happened in COVID was our assessments were taken by these companies in physical form. So people, when they walk into the offices, they were given a VR headset to wear and play this game for 15 minutes, and basically an instant report generates and a decision happens. But then since COVID, people were not coming to offices physically to take a test. So all our business in one day went to zero, literally. And then luckily we have some funds left in the company with which we could play with and pivot into the next possible solution, which is what we have today, which is a game-based test on mobile phone. So when VR did not work, we said, what can work? That's when we saw the scope building up on mobile-based tests, especially when people are trying to hire people in the remotest parts of the country. So that's how we pivoted ourselves by end of 2020 and launched the product PerspectAI Mobile. Luckily, mobile gave us three big advantages. One, the scale at which we can operate. Now everyone has a mobile phone. That means we can reach anyone in the market, especially the smartphone users. Number two, mobile also gives us a flexibility for the candidate's experience. So a candidate doesn't want to take a test at your comfort, rather their comfort. That means if I want to take a test at midnight, wherever I want, it should be accessible. So that is available with mobile. And the most important aspect was the vernacularity that we brought in. So for the kind of roles where the volume is very high in volume, let's say frontline sales, retail operations, etc., this is where they were looking at vernacular solutions. And that was possible with pretty easily for us through mobile-based games. With all of this, it really made well product. By 2021, we got our first customer, and in 2 years' time today, we're working with 23 large customers, including 4 entities of Tata's, 1 entity of Birla, Schneider, Ashok Leyland, some of the biggest names, Motilal Oswal, whatnot.
Right.
So yeah, that's the story.
So it's actually really inspiring for someone that wants to get into the space as well. Because as of 3 months ago, one of our little projects got into Microsoft for Startups Founders. So we're trying to figure out how we can create models, and like our product was a SaaS product. So this journey is really inspiring for me as well, because we applied to over 40 incubators, we got into one. So I wanted to figure out like how your journey came into being from getting PerspectAI done to the page of pitching it to investors. So how was the phase of pitching to investors that it came about? How was the experience like, and what pitfalls would you suggest that entrepreneurs should actually avoid rather than in process of pitching?
See, I'm not a computer engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer by education.
Right.
And maybe by experience, for 11 months or odd in my life, I worked with Accenture, where I was coached a little on computer science. So fundamentally, I'm not someone who builds software, but I'm someone who understands software and who can get the problem solved from the business context. So that is how we started the journey. So that means now it's on me to get the right people together who can build games, who can come with the research background of psychometrics, especially the cognitive side, the IO side of it. So there are multiple schools of thoughts again there. And then finally to package it right and push it to the market so they can see value in it. So this itself has been the longest part of our journey. So it's an iterative process. We learn from our customers than anything else. So that's the one part of the journey. But to make it all happen, to make it happen, you need to survive the company, and that means you need resources. And one of the ways we can always acquire resources, if not through profits and customer business, is through funding. So definitely we have been through multiple phases of reaching out to investors. At an early stage, we looked at a seed fund to very recently we started looking for Series A rounds. So all of this was a long journey for us. We reached out to almost every big house of investment in India, and even some of them outside the country. But the journey has been different ways at different stages. See, always this happens. When you go to an investor for the first time, they would say build a POC and come back. When you go and build a POC and come back, they'll say bring the first 2 customers and come back. When you take the first 2 customers, they'll say okay, build the first 10 lakhs MRR and then come back. So it's a never-ending request that keeps coming back. So this is where I realized if people I am reaching out to are saying this to me, they must have been saying the same to other people who are also raising funds. But then how are they making it happen? So that's when I realized it is not just always saying yes to their response and going forward. Instead, start convincing them why is this the right time, and if you don't do it now, how will you miss the bus? So that kind of creation of urgency, creation of FOMO, that you know what, you're missing out, that fear of missing out. These are some important traits that an entrepreneur also has to create. And that means that now you're getting into the marketing side of the world. You might be great at sales, but if you're not good at marketing, it's a different story altogether. So these are some of the lessons I picked from my own journey. Now there are different types of investors. There are investors who are debt focused, they're impact focused, they are SaaS focused, or certain lifetime focused. You should understand who your right partner would be. So once you understand yourself well, that's when you'll know who your right partner will be. Identifying that is very important, which we miss. Most of the entrepreneurs, including me in my early days, used to randomly reach out to everyone who possibly invests. So I think that doesn't work. It did not work for me at least. So yeah, these are some of the top lessons that I've learned. But still I'm learning because I haven't raised a VC or institution fund yet. Overall, we have raised $1 million, close to that, but it is still small compared to the spectrum where we can be. So I'm in my own journey of learning in this part.
So the fact that you've been very open about the process of getting a funding, I wanted to draw from my experience of my summer school in venture capital and private equity in Bocconi University. So I have kind of seen part of the buy side as well, where I have seen multi-million-dollar investors and venture capitalists, when they come to speak to us, I have seen people who are investing like in a sector agnostic space where any startup is fine as much as they create as this much of like X value of impact. At the same time, I've seen a lot of funds that come in and say we're only real estate focused, we're only tech focused. One of the actually ventures that came in, R3I Ventures, is only metaverse focused. Now in this situation, I also figured out that right now the wave of AI is at its peak, or will actually be going ahead as well. So in the age where I've been seeing companies like Mr.Talasila in France raising $130 million worth of seed in seed as well. What is the philosophy that you are following in PerspectAI to raise funding as well?
See, this is one of those important lessons I've learned. Ride the wave. So there is always an interesting product that you can work on, but if it is not matching with the interests of the world, the signals that the world is providing you right now, if you're not waving the wave, riding the wave that you have at the moment, you will miss on it.
Right.
So, but that doesn't mean you should stop doing it. If you're still sure that this is what you want to do in your life, it's okay, do it.
Right.
But you might not get the fund the way the others would get, who are riding the wave.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest lessons that I have. So that being said, from our perspective, what we are doing is, as the name itself says, PerspectAI. The first part of the journey of this company, we focused on games and game business with a little bit of AI. Now we are changing the focus drastically towards AI. So while our games and etc. have been come to an autopilot mode, now we are going deeper into how we can leverage LLMs and computer vision on different aspects of these assessments, of improving a person's behavior and skills for getting into a job.
Right. So, sir, actually going a little in the journey of creating PerspectAI, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Jagriti Yatra. So I actually missed the train so to speak on Jagriti Yatra. I wanted to ask you what your experience of Jagriti Yatra was. And at the same time, I have read in LinkedIn as well that you were part of the Engine Room Club. Could you shed a little more light on your entire journey there and ERC as well?
See, this is one of my life-changing journeys. I give the credit to a lot of good things that happened in my life to Jagriti Yatra. So I quit my job. I came out in 2013. That's when I was looking to figure out what to do in life. I started my first startup at the age of 21. All of this is happening, but I do not have any more resources left. That's when I applied for Jagriti Yatra. Luckily, I got in. I got this scholarship to go further at least cost that I can. First thing that happened to me on the train was it pushed me completely out of my comfort zone. For the first time, I traveled for more than 6 hours in a train. That means I was never happy to use any toilet on the train, but now I'm forced to use it. So such small things, but very important things for that age that you have formed conclusions about are broken free, and you're thrown out into the real fire. So such things happened. I was with 7 people in a small compartment for 15 days with all the clutter and everything else. I'm that OCD type of person, not liking things in the way otherwise I would like it to be. So it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And it still, on the first day of train, I still remember, this was in TIS campus. We were in the TIS campus for the orientation before we got on the train. So we were networking with people. I was that person who was talking everywhere and trying to make a mark about me in the rest of the people. But believe me, in 3 days' time, I stopped talking. I literally stopped talking because I can't talk anymore listening to the real stories of people who have come there, and those stories are way ahead of where I am. So I said, no, I'm nowhere compared to these people. So I stopped talking. I started listening. I became a silent person towards the end of the journey. So a lot of good things happened to me on that train. And then when I came out of the train, the first thing I did was, now that I know that I can go out of my comfort zone, I used to always have a dream in my college that, I should take a coin, toss it. If it comes heads, I should go on left. It should come tails, I should go on right in the railway station. I never dared to do it because I don't know how to live on the road. But this trip has really given me that kind of push that, I came out in 2 months' time, in a month's time, I went on a hitchhiking trip with 1,500 rupees in my pocket, went to the end of the city in Hyderabad, in Patancheru, tossed it, went to Nizamabad, went to Nanded, went to Gujarat, just traveled, Nagpur, whatnot, Bangalore. So, and I was traveling with lorry drivers, in trains, sleeping overnight with my sleeping bag because I could not afford anything else. So, and really interesting stories. People, lorry drivers who would spend their food on me because I was just their companion. great things. It taught me humility. It taught me that everyone can be trusted. We think that that those lorry drivers might not be trusted, or you should not trust someone on the road.
Right.
They trusted me to get me onto their vehicle. So amazing things like that.
Right.
So with all these learnings, when the next year came in, I said I want to be the volunteer who runs the train.
Right.
That's how I ended up applying for ERC. We call it the Engine Room Club.
Right.
So I applied for it. I got through it. We used to have a orientation session for a week's time.
Right.
We gel with ourselves first,
Right.
and then I got on the train. So since then, I've been on ERC for almost 7 years. So I ran the train for 7 years. The interesting things about ERC are you sit in the engine with the loco pilot in the dead cold winters of Bihar in the first week of January, and then you have the experience of riding the train.
Right.
You would have various interesting experiences sitting in the end of the train, running the train on time, a bunch of great experiences. I would always cherish those moments. And most importantly, I met my wife in one of those journeys. So, and we since then have been traveling together on the train, on or off. We contribute in various ways we can. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
This was a very, very beautiful story, sir. And I just felt like I have seen a lot of people as late as 2022, where I had my H pair delegation. Almost 50% of the people that came in did end up, knowing about Jagriti Yatra in some way or the other and ended up applying for it. I remember one of the people that I spoke to, even during the course of the conference, I realized that I have a lot of deficiencies in my candidature when I saw them speak. In here where we know Jagriti Yatra, for people who don't know, have travels the entirety of India almost. I think it's about 50,000 kilometers if I'm not wrong. And
so typically, what is Jagriti Yatra? It's a train journey that circumferences the entire country from Mumbai to Mumbai, traveling important points in the country, meeting the best possible role models in those places.
Yeah.
And while you meet them and come back to the train the same day, over the night, over the evenings in the train, you talk with each other, you try to build business plans, you learn from each other. So it's an entrepreneurial train journey to build the real India. As the founder says, Shashank says, Middle India is what his focus is, Madhya Bharat. That's what he wanted to build, and that's how he started this journey.
So sir, delving a little more into the immediate aftermath of the Jagriti Yatra portion, what was the immediate next steps you took after you'd come back from hitchhiking as well? Was the first entrepreneurial journey that you started to do this? Was it PerspectAI, or was you started something else before that?
In fact, we already started a company called Dirt9, and during Dirt9 we went on this journey. Right. But after I came back, something interesting happened. For the first time in the Telugu states, after 30-40 years, a big cyclone happened called Goodwill. So this was just then the government came in, new government formed in the states, in both the states. Suddenly, a super severe cyclone hitting Vizag in the region. The entire structures fallen down, no power for 8 days. Really tough things happened. My brother was studying in Geetham then, so I had to go. He called me, he said, there's no food, nothing I need help. I had to go. So when I was going back there, I put a Facebook post saying that, hey, you know what, I'm traveling to Vizag. If there is something that you want me to take you for your friends and family, I'm happy to take. By evening, I thought I'll go by bus and figure out the way. By evening, I got so much material of relief, I had to hire a lorry. And I don't have money for the lorry, so I just put another post. Immediately got 20,000 rupees from someone else to afford a lorry. We started the lorry journey. We started going in. Everywhere we were reaching, people were just waiting for us to give more material. That's how we ended up in Vizag. But interestingly, by the time I walked into a city, it's pitch dark. There's so many vehicles already coming for relief. There's no one to distribute. The machinery, the government machine is busy with something else. Luckily, I have my network of Geetham and my own batchmates and juniors. So 600 volunteers came together, formed our own communication systems, our own godowns, got the relief material together. One team goes ahead, does the scouting where the real need is. Other team goes back and gets the material distributed. There are many stories. A pregnant woman who can't come down, there's no water supply on the 5th floor. There are other interesting cases. So, but this is one important thing that happened, which would otherwise I would not really have the confidence to do. But now with all these things I've been doing out of my comfort zone, it just gave me that, you just go with the flow. Have faith, things will happen. And that really proved right for us. So it's a huge story, huge success story of relief that we did there.
So a couple of things I'm picking up on that, please correct me if I'm wrong, that a couple of things like go with the flow and trusting people a lot. You tend up forming communities as you go in a lot of places that you end up going to. So ended up the real meaning of networking actually comes into play when you have like a network they can tap into and be like, if I have this thing I need people for, volunteers show up. And if you want to discuss business plans, you're on a 15-day train journey, and when you come back from meeting a person, you essentially have a group of cohort you can just come back and bounce off ideas from.
So during my early days of entrepreneurship in the second venture, this current company, I was needed to travel Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, whatnot. Everywhere I go, I just pick those days Facebook used to have that intelligence system of my friends in nearby, and it used to show me all the friends nearby. 60% of them would be Jagriti Yatra participants, and you just ping them, I have a place to stay. So everywhere in the country I could confidently go, pick the phone, tell someone there will be a place for me to stay. And similarly, I also contributed in the same way to others in our own states, not just in Hyderabad, police cases, some deaths happening. So this is a network in itself. You just need to tell them, hey, you know what, I'm part of such a journey, you're part of such a journey, I need help. So that really helped me everywhere too.
So sir, actually delving a little more into the community aspect of it all, here at Nalsar, for an IPM program, we have a very small cohort. We have 70 people coming in for each batch. In total, with the third batch coming in that you've inducted, we will have 210 people as a sum total for IPM. What would you suggest us to do to create a community here at Nalsar to foster entrepreneurship and foster decision making, which is in the good for everyone?
See, if there is one thing that I've learned about building communities, it's to give. So giving without expecting would form great communities. So the moment you start giving, people who got benefited from you, they would want to give either to you or someone else. That's how they will come back. It'll take its own time, but give it that time, have the patience, and don't stop giving.
Actually, to continue on the thread, sir, I realized this on your LinkedIn profile. I was extremely blown away by this, that you have also co-founded a VR community here in India. Now, I wanted to ask you, putting this into perspective as well, like I said before, Apple were launching its Vision Pro earlier this year, Meta launching its Oculus, and you've told us about your association with Facebook as well. How did VR come into being such a big picture that a community ended up being forming in India, and what do you think the future holds for VR in India?
See, when we started this company in 2016 with the focus on VR, I think the Bonfire was started around 2018, I believe. So the reason we started bonfireVR is with our own experience. When we started this company without any experience or funds or resources, we were reaching out to people always. Hey, can you help me with understanding this game engine? Hey, can you help me with the device so that I can test it quickly? I can't afford that device. I don't have the device. Very rarely I used to get positive response. In fact, I never got a positive response. That's when I decided that, or then our co-founders decided together that, we did not get the help we wanted. Let us help others who needed the same support. So we opened our office. We said over a weekend, anyone can walk into our office. We used to have any device that is recent in the market back in the day. We were funded enough in that day, and we used to have any device that is needed in the VR AR space. So we said anyone can just walk in. You need help in technology, we'll be happy to help. You need help in hardware, just come experience the hardware, take it if you want. So we used to do that part. That's how eventually we said, let's put a name to this and create an ecosystem out of this. And that's how it got to become bonfireVR. Moment we started doing this, others who got benefited from us, those early age startups, they started contributing back to. And that's when we said, okay, we have to form a close group of people who can do this together. So almost 8 or 9 startups in Hyderabad and some small individual entities, they came together. And that's how the bonfireVR community was founded.
I see like consistent, this thing comes back is a virtuous cycle that you create. Maybe with people, maybe with giving back to the community, that you have to expect nothing and give to people, and people will take some value from it and revert back with it.
See, also never hold it as it is yours. So when we pivoted from VR in 2020, we have not much to do with VR anymore. So we stopped doing everything VR. We only focus ourselves on the other side where it is making money for us. At that time, we said we had nothing to do with VR. So we slowly started discontinuing from all the VR activity. But then we left the group open for public, open for others to run it and drive it. So today the community flows. Whoever has still doubts and questions and concerns, the group of WhatsApp and etc. meetup groups are active. So people just interact with each other and get their problem solved.
Right, so actually one thing I wanted to ask you more is that you've been into the VR space as well, you've been into the AI space as well. Now, for the last 10 years, we have seen the launch of the metaverse, which started then it died down a little bit, and then the wave of AI came in. Now, if someone who is in a 5-year program that is actually trying to create a career for themselves, how do they sieve out what is a fad from what actually tends up to be some that can contribute to your career in the long term?
See, the good thing is people who are studying now, who are going to come out in the next 4 to 5 years, both of these technologies are going to play a crucial role.
Right.
VR went mainstream when Oculus was bought by Facebook. People
Right.
started speculating good things about it. Until 2016, they were developer kits, but 2016 the consumer versions came in. But until 2020, they were all bulky, costly hardware. But then 2020, when Quest came to market, it's all simplified, cheaper devices.
Right.
So now VR is accessible for the first time. Now the quality VR is accessible, and with Apple coming mainstream with their Apple Vision Pro, we can only bet that Apple has cracked it. Otherwise, they would not generally come in.
Right.
Again, from my own sources in Apple, what I've learned is Apple thinks the next device is Vision. What iPhone has done to the world, Vision Pro would do to the world is what they believe.
Yeah.
But they also have a counter belief. If at all VR do not take off, like any other companies who failed, if Apple also fails in VR, Apple realized that if this fails, there is nothing for this century better than iPhone, and they'll focus 100% on iPhone. So in this century, there is one innovation. Until now, it is iPhone,
Right.
and the next one should be VR. But if it doesn't take off, believe me, you'll be happy with iPhone.
iPhones, right.
So that is the speculation in the market.
Right.
So VR, we would only know in the next 3 to 4 years. But AI, definitely that is the future.
Right.
If someone is betting on AI, they will not go wrong.
Right. So even in the current functioning of our production house as well, we've been using a lot of DALL-E 2, Stable Diffusion. We're trying to use GPT in things like scripting for the next episodes that come in, and you need to figure out more about the founder, because only LinkedIn won't give us all the answers. Some other object or some other situation that we have that is already crawled over the internet, figure out that information and can help us out with a lot is actually helpful in this space as well. But for someone actually, sir, primarily pivoting back towards the IPM focus of it all, now that you have interacted with the juniors as well, the IPM 23-28 batch as well as our batches as well, I wanted to ask you that if someone had to create a career in the only the 5 years that they have created, what would the initial spark that you would suggest them to have, or like initial direction you would ask them to pursue in order to get the best out of their career?
See, I think they should only focus on their core areas, which is what they want to focus on. Let's say, for example, HR or finance or whatnot. But whatever they choose, they should have AI always in their pocket. That's my suggestion. I don't care what you choose. That's your choice. What interests you is what interests you. But whatever interests you, you should have AI to make it better, so that you have the advantage of over others who are competing with you.
Right.
So the next 5 years is all about people who can leverage AI and do what they do better.
Right. So a slight caveat in this as well. When we know that tools like GPT-3 and GPT 3.5 and 4 have become so widespread, this becomes very difficult to differentiate between a person who has written an authentic piece on something rather than someone who's just said, write like this with these parameters and give me an output in these many words. So in this case, in the age of AI, has its caveats as well. So how do you think a person on the other side of the table who is evaluating the set of students would be able to look at a cohort and say these people are actually interested and have used AI to the fullest, whereas these people are actually just doing it for the heck of it?
See, let's say for example, I ask you a question now. What is 72.5% of 63.75?
I would have to say good pen and paper.
Let's say for example, you took a calculator, or you took a pen, or someone took a mental math, Vedic math, whatever.
Yeah.
They gave an answer. For me, getting an answer in the real business context, getting the answer is important. It doesn't matter where you got it from. But getting that answer faster, better than anyone else is the most important part.
Right.
So the business is going to look at AI like that. It doesn't matter whether you use a calculator or open book exam to crack your exam. These days, open book exams are reality. Calculators in exams are reality. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when calculators were first introduced, teachers actually made a strike on the streets of US roads. So today, if someone says they are using AI, they're not using AI, or how they are using AI, doesn't matter. As long as the end business goal is met the right way and the faster you can, whether you use AI or not, it doesn't matter to people. But with the AI, what I'm saying is you can do it better.
Right.
So if that can add value to it, take it to your advantage.
Right.
And then just use it. Believe me, today when people talk about how colleges are trying to ways where students are trying to submit their assignments using ChatGPT, etc. Tomorrow it is going to be a reality. So tomorrow it is not about what assignment you have written, how well you have written a prompt to get the answer out of AI.
Right.
That would be the real exam later. As long as you are good at writing a prompt to get the right answer out, you're good.
Right.
So humans are all about using the resources which are latest available in the market to solve the real world problems.
So this is actually a very important thread because I wanted to, delve a little more into this. I've been watching a lot of content regarding AI. Now, even everything from I've used UberDuck to create sort of used GPT to create the lyrics, UberDuck to emulate Eminem's voice and create sort of a small rap music for insights. We have used GPT to create a lot of the back-end portions that we use. The initial designs that we create as well have been used by Stable Diffusion, by DALL-E 2, by any AI tool that's necessary that can give us that advantage. So in one of the podcasts I was listening to as well, they said that the barrier entry has gone down dramatically low for a lot of startups and a lot of entrepreneurs because you don't need to hire a designer. You can go to Wizard and create a small app for yourself. You don't have to get a copywriter. You can go to GPT and say write like Matt Barker or write like the best copywriter in the world. These portions, write like Khalid Hosseini, use these many adjuncts and get this part done. So I feel like one thing that's also has been added by the advent of AI is that the barrier to entry for any given situation has been lowered by a lot. By an extension, sir, what you've said is also holds true because the people that know how to leverage AI the best end up using it to outcompete the others. So the situation, we're also creating an instance where the people that are skilled enough in AI as well as their craft end up supercharging their ability to create something rather than the people who are just doing for the heck of it remain at the bottom.
In fact, there is a counter statement there, which is, first let's understand why is it very accessible, then I'll give you the answer to that. Until today, if I have to use a computer, if I have to talk to the computer to get the result I want, I should know the computer's language.
Right.
For the first time, computer knows your language.
Right.
So now you can speak to computer in your language, not in its language. So the barrier of entry until today is learning the language of computer, which is now taken out because computer has learned your language. So this means you can talk to a computer like a human being. But the problem is there are different people with us. They might be James Bonds, but they don't want to ask for help. Now these people will find it very difficult to even go and ask help from GPT. So they don't even know how to ask for help. So those who really know how to ask for help, whether it's a computer or a people or a person, they would start getting results faster.
Right.
Now, those who have been doing it in a very more complex way, in the most crude way possible, if they think, my way is the right way, they get stuck. And unfortunately, they are thinking like that. You look at the recent strike that's happened in the Hollywood, the writer's strike.
Yeah.
Ideally, when GPT came in, every writer could have actually used it and start doing it better. But they say, I am the greatest writer possible. You are using that and I don't allow you to do it. Why would a director or a producer care what you have used as long as the story is great? So the real experts are not really agile or flexible to use the new technology coming in.
Right.
As much as we think otherwise, unfortunately, that is the truth. You look at the best of the lawyers in the market today, they would not use it. Actually, the young lawyers who doesn't know much, they would use this. Best of the doctors won't use it because they think they know the best and they say it doesn't know anything. But the 101 lawyers would be the doctors would be the one who would be using it and might actually get benefited out of it. So the challenge is those real geniuses should put that barrier away and just start using it.
Right.
When they start using it, then there is really a difference between the novice using it and an expert using it.
Right.
So they'll still remain experts when compared to these novices.
Right, sir. So I mean, also drawing on the fact that as more people come to use it, the LLMs develop better. The answers they give are much more nuanced. Now, in this situation, if we try to, let's say, extrapolate it to the next 10 years, do you think prompt engineering then becomes a very real aspect of every job?
See, the GPTs and etc. what we're talking about right now are commercially only 6 months old.
Right.
It's an infant right now.
Right.
Give it 1.5 years. Give it 2 years.
Right.
it will show some spellbound results. Now that said, is prompt engineering going to be future? No, it is the present. There is a set of skills identified by World Economic Forum called 21st century skills and abilities. I don't know if WEF has already thought about it, but in my own brain, in my own mind, I've already added prompt engineering as a 21st century skill. If you don't know 21st century skills, that means you're not ready yet.
Right.
So prompt engineering is one of the top listed 21st century skill in my own mind.
Right.
So it is now. Know how to prompt, but to know how to prompt, you should understand how that understands your language.
Right.
So that means there are certain courses like deeplearning.ai where Andrew Ng, etc. talks about some amazing content in 1 hour courses. Go there, understand how that works, what is hallucination, what is what. So that's how you will learn the better ways of doing the prompting.
Actually, sir, my follow-up would be a little bit around the hallucination points as well, because I have actually taken the course of Andrew Ng as well, and I've been following a lot of people. Recent interview I watched of Lex Friedman and Benjamin Netanyahu, the president of Israel as well, and he said, the prime minister of Israel, I'm sorry, and he said that Israel for one is pivoting slightly heavily into the AI space because they know that it's going to be the future. But at the same time, one thing that I feel is going to be a major barrier as well is the hallucination portion of it all. Because we had Sydney, which came in via Bing, and Microsoft, which had acquired, as well, and there was a OpenAI portion as well that had come in. Now, Sydney, there was a big controversy that came in, was reported by the Wall Street Journal, wherein they said that Sydney had started, prompting the Wall Street Journal reporters back, saying, leave your wife, be with me, and started, putting out very weird prompts that came out as well. So, what do you think the future of AI looks like in this sphere, and how would hallucination as a prospect would be reduced as well in this situation?
Do you think you can expect a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old to be more social conscious?
No, sir. No, sir.
They might put all the bedroom secrets of their parents out in front of anyone.
Right, sir.
Right? That is it the mistake of the kid, or is the mistake of the society, or is the mistake of the age? So I see AI nothing different from a human kid. So it is capable of doing anything, and it is doing it.
Right.
Now, with time, it will learn like any other human being.
Right.
So it will start learning, and the way it will start framing those differences, it will have those internal ethical models built inside.
Right, sir.
So give it time. 2-3 years, it'll be very different from what we are seeing right now.
Right. So I think this conversation has been extremely beneficial, especially to me for the understanding a little bit more on the AI space, because while I am getting a grip on the functional aspect of it, you actually helped me a lot with the philosophy of how to look at AI in itself as well. So we'll be wrapping this episode right now. So I wanted to ask you if there was any one line of evidence or one line of advice, that you wanted to give to our IPM students so that they could, kickstart their journey in the AI space as well.
Keep learning.
Right, sir.
I just gave the IPM students this entire quote as it is. Try to learn less and less about more and more before you learn more and more about less and less. So the idea is keep learning as much as you can about everything possible until the day you find that interesting thing which you really love, and then go deep into it.
Right.
So AI should be that small thing for you. Not everyone need to become a PhD to write their own LLM. Instead, everyone can become a simple prompt engineer who can write a nice prompt to do anything out there.
Right, sir.
So I think that's the journey to start with.
Right, sir. So I think we'll be wrapping the podcast episode up right now. I want to thank you so much for coming here today, sir.
My pleasure.
And we'll be coming back with yet another speaker, yet another industry expert to come to you and speak to you about the new challenges that are coming in the working world, the new technologies that are coming in the working world, and how we can use them better to create a better future for ourselves. This is Ayush Nigam, your host for Insights Biosec X Level 2, and we'll see you soon with another episode. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming, sir.
Great, Arsh.